And we're back on another Tuesday, and we got a really exciting topic today. What does an editor do anyway? And so Janet and I are excited to welcome our guest, Susan Rooks, otherwise known as the Grammar Goddess. And we just talked a second ago, Grammar Goddess meet Google Goddess meet Travel Goddess. So that's kind of how it all goes together. But anyways, Susan is one of our featured LinkedIn leaders. So I'm going to tell everybody, go watch that video we created about Susan because she is awesome sauce and you should be following her. And we're just going to jump right in and just start talking today about being an editor. So welcome, Susan. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live.
And I so appreciate this, Gillian and Janet. I'm just tickled to death that you said, would you want to be here? And I thought, sure. Were you kidding? I'd love it. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's start off with, we were talking the other day before we did the LinkedIn Live, and you were talking about during the pandemic, a lot of people wrote books, which is actually creating a lot of work for you right now, which is a good thing. So maybe you could just kind of share what are some of the books that people, have you doing editing work for right now? And is there kind of some common themes that you're seeing?
I am seeing a common theme about the pandemic, which should not surprise anyone. I'm working on 2 anthologies. Both are coming out of Canada. Go figure the odds. Both are trying to find out, how did you survive the pandemic, or what would you do differently? They do have a different viewpoint, but the point was, we've just gone through 15, 16 months of utter awful. And how did you survive it? How did you get from there to here? What were your stories? What did we need to know about your strengths? What did you discover about yourself? That kind of thing. Because for a lot of folks, we know they were locked down. I mean, they were in a small space. I'm lucky enough to have not been quite that in such a tiny space that I couldn't be outdoors. But a lot of folks really couldn't go very far. So many of them turned to creating an anthology or writing their own book about something maybe they started a year ago or 2 years ago. I got one writer said, I put it away about 4 years ago. I figured I'd never get around to it. Oops. Yes, he did.
You got the time.
Well, if you can't do what you've normally done, you seriously can't do it. Yeah. If you've got a project that would engage you and make you feel like, oh, I'm getting somewhere, then why not do it? So I've had more book authors coming to me and saying, can you help me? Okay, let me look at what you've done. Now just give me a quote for the number of pages. I can't do it that way. I have no idea what you wrote. I never want to say I don't know how well you wrote it. That would be unkind. But I can't do anything until I actually see it. The fact that you've done 10 pages that are good, so what? Maybe the next 20 are, maybe they aren't. I don't know. I need to see the whole of it. I need to know the point of it. I mean, I've even created, Gillian, 2 sheets of paper that say, these are the things that I would like you to tell me when we first talk. Think about it, because it makes it a little easier in the process. Why'd you write the book? Who's the probable audience? What do they know about the topic? On and on. The anthologies are fascinating, because each of these people picked 20 people they know, and we're talking worldwide. So I've got a couple of authors in each one of them from India or Pakistan or somewhere in South America, a few Americans, a few Canadians, but there was no likeness to them. Each one had a story. Each one had a different story. And it's been fascinating to see how they've managed, because that's the part of the job I love the best. I love learning about other people. How did you what do you know? Where is your skill set? What are you expert in? Things I've never even heard of in my life. So these people had wonderful stories to tell. And it's been
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, can you just maybe clarify what an anthology is for anybody who isn't familiar with that term?
Yeah, it's each of these 2 people, man and a woman, decided they have a topic in mind, but they don't want to write their own content. So they went out and reached 20 other people that said, can you write anywhere between 2,000 and 6,000 words? I much prefer that you do 2,000 words, but okay. and tell us your story. And then they collect the stories. There's got to be a theme running through it that makes them the same, but not identical, because it would be boring if you read the same story 20 times.
Sure.
Each one has a different point. Each one found a different strength. Each one had different heartaches. But the anthology point is that you get to be putting together a wonderful book that shares other people's stories that you didn't have to create, but you do have to get it organized. And that's the other piece that I'm learning a lot more about this than I ever would have imagined, how hard it is to organize 20 people. They have to have a bio, they have to have an introduction, they have to have a story, it has to be this big. We have a timeline. God bless them. All I do is the work.
Wow. Wow. So are you being involved from the beginning, or has somebody pretty much said, I'm done now, I want to get this up on Amazon, can you just do your magic?
That was close to it in both cases. I'm learning, as another friend is who's doing some of the content editing with me, that we need to be involved from day one. It's smarter because that way we're learning each other what we're doing here and how we're stumbling and what each of us could have done better, what the organizers probably could have done even better. But until you've gone through it, you might not know. And although I did one anthology once, it was 4 or 5 years ago, and it was just, send me the stories, I do the thing, send me the stories. I never got past that part. I didn't have to. So I'm learning. And it's exciting to learn because I know I can help people going forward if that's what they want to do.
Right.
Wow.
It was interesting. Gillian had shared with me an article that you had written about the different types of editing that one can do. And I was really surprised because I just thought you just hired an editor, and that person could do everything. And you may have to have multiple editors because one person may not be able to do any of them or do all of them. So could you give us a little bit of a background on that?
Yeah, I learned to my own horror that I'm not a developmental editor, which means the person that you come to and say, I have an idea. And I want to go from A to B to C to D to E. Oh, and then I want to go to Q, but I think I want to come back to E. I want to pull it together. I cannot do that for you. I've learned to my horror that I need to see what you've written. I'm also not really a copywriter. So if you can't even get something down on a computer, paper, I don't care what, I'm not going to write it for you. There are people out there that are skilled in saying, you want to write a really great article? I can do that for you. Tell me the 5 points you want to make. I'll make them. I tried that.
Like a ghost writer?
Yeah, I'm not. Oh boy, no. I tried that years ago.
No ghosting.
Fail. Epic fail. My word. Somebody said, can't you make it friendlier? What's not friendly? I don't know. It just doesn't look friendly. Give me some words you want me to use. I don't know what they are. Stop. We're not all skilled everywhere. So developmental editor, I'm not. Oh, dear heaven, no. The other three, content editor, line editor, proofreader, and I know there's another one at the moment, it's just going right over my head. I'm a mix of them. And I think when I've talked to other people who do this, we all are to some extent. It's hard to say, okay, all I'm going to do is proofread without going in and going, wait a minute, this paragraph and that paragraph, they're the same. Or they don't flow, or this chapter order is wrong. So I end up doing more than any one of the four because I can't read it without saying, okay, wrong phase. I just read a book. Somebody was phased, P-H-A-S-E-D. Wrong phased. F-A-Z-E-D would have been the right word. I can't go past that piece of it, even if that wouldn't be my technical job. So I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at the flow, the organization. I'm looking at, the big thing, I don't work on fiction. I don't. No.
Okay.
Tried that. I don't want to work on the content where you've got a character in the first paragraph or the first chapter that dies in the fourth chapter, miraculously back to life somehow. I don't want to track plot points. I don't want to track character. I'm not good at it. So
that's even more skills. It's like a whole other, plus the regular things too.
Yeah. It's a way of looking at that my brain just says, no, not doing that. No, I tried. It doesn't fit. I much prefer things that have a table of contents because then we have an order. We have a structure. We have I can see where you're going with that, but maybe you want to put this one up here, that one down. But I can see it even if they're not trying to explain it to me. So business books, Anything that's non-fiction works for me in terms of editing it. I'm much more comfortable in that world, which surprises me because I'm a real creative person, but not when I do this job. It's not. It's another piece of me I didn't even know I had.
It's probably very analytical.
It is. That's right. And I'm not. But in my work, I am, Gillian. I'm not a person in life. I don't really care if this thing is pink, yellow, green, or blue, or it's over here. I don't. But when I'm reading, the period goes inside the final quote marks. It just does stop. I saw that. You can't have that. So it's, yeah, you really have to talk to somebody and say, what kind of editor are you? What will you be able to do for me? The proofreader is the last one. But again, if somebody says, will you just proof it? Okay, tell me what you mean by proofing. Do I have the right to tell you this paragraph is not working, or you just want me to check the grammar or the punctuation? I can do that. But it's going to be really hard for me to not say, that isn't working. It's, yeah. So I have conversations with these people early up. The other thing, Gillian, they think it's a one read. Can you read it and just do it? Doesn't work that way. My first read, I will be correcting things, no question. But I'm going to be looking for all the things that we're going to have to talk about because it's not my book. It's your book. You wrote it. I collaborate with you. I'm not an editor who says, you will do it my way. It's, what did you mean by this area? What were your thoughts? Help me understand so that we can make it shine. And until I've read the whole thing, I don't have a clue. So
it starts with reading the book first.
It does. And I make corrections as I go, Janet, because I can't help doing that. I'm trying to clean it up enough so that I could read it, send it back to the author. I use Word. I don't use track. I use track changes in Word. I'm not crazy about Google Docs. They're not good for me to work on. But I make a red copy, which is the track changes version, which every single thing I see gets marked up. Can you argue with me later? Sure. You can say, I like that word. Tell me why. If you want it and you want to fight for it, okay, you like the word, fine. And then I turn it into a readable black version, meaning my changes are in the new one, all done. And I do it because I want to see if the changes work. I want to make sure the comma out really isn't there anymore. And I send that back to the author and say, your turn. Give me feedback. What are you happy with? What are you not happy with? How does this feel to you now? Especially if I took up some paragraphs, which sometimes I do. You said that 3 paragraphs ago. But it's a collaboration and it has to be. So,
Susan, it could get a little disheartening. So if I wrote a book and then I hired an editor and then it was like, and then they're coming back to me with all these changes and I might be feeling like a little discouraged. I'm sure you run across this. What do you do to kind of get them to bolster them up and say, it's all good. We're going to get your book out.
Yeah. Well, I've had somebody say, can't you just do it once? And I said, I can do anything once, but what is your goal? You want me to do it fast or you want me to do it right? It's your name on that book. At the end of the day, your name is out there saying, I wrote this. I'm proud of it. It's what I want you to read. And that's why, again, those 2 sheets of paper, I'm very clear. This could take 2 to 4 months. It's not like I have time this week. And even if I do, I have to send it back. You have to read it. You might want to have some beta readers, which people don't always use. Beta readers are nothing more than people who will read it and be candid. You cannot ask your mother to read it unless she will say, honestly, that second chapter is the worst thing it doesn't work. It doesn't. But also you have to give beta readers an idea of what you're looking for. Don't just tell me it's wonderful or don't tell me it sucks. Tell me what specifically you thought was really good, where it falls apart. Help me, because my eyes go to it in my head. My editor's eyes go from hers. 5 people reading it, you get some feedback at least of people who say, really good because, or really not so good because. And again, I don't want you to do it to friends. I want you to colleagues who will be honest, not hurtful.
Right. Wow.
Way that cuts out some of that back and forth with me, because if 5 people all say that 3rd chapter is an absolute mess, guess what? There's a really good chance that the 3rd chapter is awful and that we need to figure out what to do. If I only say it, the author could easily say, I like it. I want to have it.
So they usually have to, so they'll probably, after the first draft, will probably need to be prepared as the writer that you might have to rewrite some of your chapters if you've advised them that they're not flowing right or their grammar is off. Well, you're actually going to do the grammar for them anyway, right? So
I'm going to do the grammar regardless because that's my skill. That's my absolute, you will not argue.
Because you're the grammar goddess.
Yeah. But the rest of it, Janet, it really is a longer process than most people think. It's a little more expensive. I charge by the hour. I do not charge by the number of words. I don't have the slightest idea about your number of words. 50,000. Are they the right ones? Should you have 70 or should you have 20? I don't know until I read the blooming thing. So
that's right.
How about a number of pages? Okay, what size? Font size. Did you put every other line? I mean, no, hourly.
That makes good sense.
That makes absolute sense.
Yeah, well, it does to me, and it's the only way I can work. It's not that I'm out there trying to oversell the money. It's that it'll take a certain number of, I have a certain range. I can tell you, okay, generally speaking, you can get 12 to 15 pages an hour. Your book may be 10 and your book may be 18. I don't know until I see it.
So you can at least kind of give them a ballpark.
I can give them a ballpark after maybe 3 chapters of, okay, I can see the size, I can see the font, I can see the ideas, and I can say, okay, it's looking as though you'll get 15 pages to an hour. Now, if it's going to continue the same way, you probably will. Sometimes the first few are really good and sometimes they're not later. I don't know.
Right, right.
It's
so what are sort of some of the common mistakes that if you had been brought in earlier, you could have perhaps saved some time if you had been able to tell them, you need to do this, this, and this before you give it to me? What would be some sort of the common mistakes people make?
One of them is falling in love with a word like excellent or wonderful or authority or something. I've been known to go in and do a search find in Word. And if I find that same word 187 times, it's possible you overused it. Right there. That is just so sad. The other one, which is a weird one, this is one of my sheets. For some reason, some fonts make some quotation marks straight up and down, and then in the same document, they're curly. Okay, if I have to go through 80 to 150 pages and change mostly to curly, because mostly that's the one that should go with the font, you're paying me time to do something really stupid.
Right.
If the same thing with the quotation marks and then an apostrophe, sometimes you see them up and down, and sometimes this. You go through it and you do, I tell them, go do the mechanical things. Make sure your paragraphs are all, if you indent one, indent them all. If I have to do it, it's money, it's time. Make sure about your word usage. Make sure of these. And there's like 25 different ways that you can just structure it so that you get me a cleaner copy. Because the cleaner it is, the simpler it is for me to read through and not have to go, oh my gosh, this is going to be a lot longer. But I will say this, Jen, I will go back to you after the 3rd or 4th chapter and say, okay, look, this is what I've done. If I see it's going to be longer, I may send you the first 2 or 3 chapters, show you what I'm finding, and then say, see, if you could go looking the rest of it, depending if you have time, you're going to hunt for these. It'll save me time and save you money.
Right. Well, there are some programs that could help them, right? Because like we use a couple of programs when we write blog articles.
Like the Hemingway app, app.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah.
I've had people use Grammarly, and I'm not going to argue Grammarly beats nothing. Here's the problem. I'm sorry, the basic Grammarly sucks. It's not a very good program. It'll give you 4 options, but if you don't even know whether a semicolon does this, 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 or that, how on earth can you decide whether it should or shouldn't be there? You can't. That's what I do. I know where a semicolon goes. People stop using them. And I've had one of the guys that I write for, Dennis Potoko of Biz Catalyst 360, he puts it through Grammarly. And he sent it to me of my own a couple of times. And I read it and went, whoa. Yes, the word, however, can be used that way, but that's not how the sentence was working. Grammarly works on a rules-based. There's no say,
right.
However, could be this version, or it could mean, so I was using it as just the word, not a grammatical device, but it put a semicolon after it. Okay, then. It's better than nothing. Again, if you're really pretty good at grammar, then that kind of thing can help a lot. It will find a great many things for you. But even when I'm reading it, I'm thinking, what are you flagging that for? No, that's not the way it's supposed to go in American grammar. So are they better than nothing? For many people, yes. For some, no. They can't even ask you, what's the point of your book?
And that's something else. There could be something different between American and British, because, you know, I was born in Britain, and we were raised in Canada. And of course, even spelling is different in Canada and England.
All those U's.
You know, we had to learn to, you know, take out the U in color.
And harbor.
And neighborhood. And all of that. And so that's the other thing. Like, my husband wrote a children's book, which was about vowels. Well, it worked for an American audience, but it did not work for, you know, what they call the international English audience. And it had to be changed.
Janet, because Canada, I've looked this up obsessively because I do a lot of, mostly you guys follow the American version in quotation marks, where the periods go, that sort of thing. Mostly you really do. I'm shocked. Spelling, no, you don't. And then usage, even in America, in any country, sections of a country will have usage that the rest of us say, what on earth are you saying?
Right.
Any big country, or actually probably even a tiny one, could have sections of an area that we say it this way and you say it that way. Okay. But yeah, I've worked with people from India. They have a mix of kind of British and pick up one or two things from American, and then they aren't always sure they even know where that all came from. It's how they do it.
Oh my.
I will ask them, in all honesty, if I do it in America and I just do it the same way all the way through, are you okay? And many of them will say yes, because they're pretty sure nobody will know the difference.
And this is probably their audience anyway.
If you go for an international audience, something is going to be bothering someone somewhere. It has to. It has to.
Right.
So be it. And being an editor is a fun, interesting, you learn so much. I learned about
it.
You were a thing.
And it's funny, when I was a kid, I loved books, and I always used to say, I would love to be paid to read books, but I guess you're not just reading the books, you're working really, really hard, because it's like, I would never be able to do the grammar part. The grammar is like it's like I look at something and it looks right, sounds right, I'll read it out loud, and I think that's just because I'm a big reader. So I think readers see things that are wrong, and we just kind of intuitively know it. But I can't dig out the rule that says, oh, no, you always, you know, like even you just mentioned the period inside the quote. You know, somebody once caught that on my, I was doing a course and I'd done it all the way through. I was consistent in my error all the way through, and I had to go back and change it all. And then and that was, to me, the best learning moment was, I don't do that now, but it, you know, for a lot of people, that's a common mistake.
And now she corrects me.
Yes, all the time.
Rules don't always make sense. I mean, I'm as honest as I can be. We say in the American rule says, when you have a list that ends in a colon, like the people who will be at the meeting are colon, you know, Janet, Gillian, and Jeff. The American rule says if you can't put a word in front of the colon that ends a sentence, you can't use the colon in that sentence. And my answer is, who the hell cares? I mean, why should that be a problem? Why should that even be a rule? Most people think you can write the list contains and tell, but the word contains doesn't end a sentence. You would never say the list contains period. Therefore, by our rule, you can't put a colon there in a sentence.
Wow.
And here's my when I teach grammar, I'm very honest when I talk to people. If your boss absolutely, positively must have that colon in that sentence, then do it. It's not worth fighting over something almost 90% of the people will never know is wrong, because it's a very silly rule, but it is a rule.
And don't you think some rules have changed? Like, for example, I'm 10 years older than Gillian, so I learned things before she did. And when we would finish a sentence, we'd always leave 2 spaces before we would start the next sentence. And now it's 1. And I don't know when it changed, but nobody told me.
About 35
Nobody
years ago.
sent me a note until Gillian said, "You're doing it wrong, Janet." And I've been doing it all my
Here
life.
it is. It's wrong. Yeah. About 35 years ago. And it's got to do with typography and the fact that the way it used to be, things used to be typeset. I'm not going to tell you I'm an expert in that. But yeah. And somebody said, well, the rule I thought was you change it if it's a period. I said, no, it's between sentences, 1 space. After a colon that introduces that list, 1 space. That's another thing I tell people, check for the spaces. If I have to do it, I'm going to be going back.
That's right. It's a lot of work. I've done it. Let me tell you, I had to unlearn my brain, because I had been doing it for so long and nobody had ever corrected me until, Gillian and I started doing our blog articles and she said, "You're doing it wrong."
How about this one? Never end a sentence with a preposition. Number 1, people have to say, what's a preposition? Okay.
Right.
They resisted for years saying, who did you go with? With is a preposition. And then it's attributed to what's his name in Britain years ago, who said, that is an impetus up with which I will not put. He rewrote a whole sentence without ending with, just to show how awkward it can be when you don't. These days we say you can end with for. You can end with, who did you give it to? What is it good for? Who did you go with? Please don't say, with whom did you go? People thinking, what on earth did you just say? Yeah, so a lot has gotten less stiff, less formal, but we still have a few rules here and there. Yes, Gillian, it's just what I happen to have learned.
Can you start with and? Because I remember you could never start with and.
Okay.
Ever.
And it depends on what you're writing, Jen. If you're writing something, a dissertation, you're writing something highly formal or legal, then you might not. But the kind of work I do is business writing largely, and our goal is to be clear in our intent. Clarity is what we're looking for. If I end with, you're going to have an easier time. Who did you go with rather than with whom did you go? And you're reading it thinking, oh, really?
Well, now we just say that I'm going with, like we don't even finish it. I'm going with.
And I'm dying to know what's his name. I want to know what's his name is. You'll have to put it in the comments later. Although speaking of comments, Churchill.
How to get the brain?
We have Jeff Young. Speaking of comments, we have Jeff Young. So woohoo! The Grammar Goddess, the Google Goddess, and the goddesses are in the house. All right. Oh, okay. So we should have just had Jeff hop on the show with us. Okay. Anthology equals. Oh, him and his C's. I love it. Collections of stories. Namaste. And be careful using the phrase "we jobby" from Scotland. You might not like the connotation. You guys have to go and see John Asperian's video today to know what that means, because that was a faux pas. That was a faux pas that Craig Allen did.
That John made, or somebody else?
Well, John made a video for Lois Cliff because it's her birthday, and it is Susan's birthday. It is Susan's birthday today, and Jules White's birthday today. So we have three lovely ladies making this wonderful triangle of having a birthday today. So, and by the way, Susan, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. Can you put up some balloons, Gillian, or something?
I know. I really should have. We need special effects.
We do need special effects.
Come back this time next year, Susan, and I will have special effects figured out in StreamYard. How to
do, Gillian? Jeepers. We job.
Yeah, like yeah. So I guess a jobby is poop. so and we in Scottish is little. So it's kind of like saying you're a little poop. In a sweet, endearing way. But I suppose somebody who's not Scottish would say, "Why are you calling me that?"
Well, it's
But
English,
what did he
tomorrow.
mean? What did he think he was saying? What did he think jobby was?
No, he knew what it was, but I guess he was using it as a form of endearment.
Oh,
Like,
I
oh,
see. Oh.
Okay.
happy birthday, you wee little jobby. So that's
Oh,
my Craig
right. Oh,
Allen.
right. Thinking is a little fellow kind of thing. Got it. Just the wrong meaning. Got it.
Right. And of course, I was the only American in the crew. Well, maybe I wasn't the only American, but I don't remember where we did this video. So you have to go see it on John Asperian's page today. But if you see this video, Craig says that, and I was the only one who didn't notice. I thought, well, that's a nice little thing to call somebody.
Yeah.
But it just makes you realize that there are phrases that we use that don't translate. They're are they called colloquialisms?
Colloquialism. Colloquialism.
Say that word 5 times.
That's a long one. Yeah.
Not when you've had a wee drum.
Right, which is much better than a wee jobby.
Right. Yes.
Yes, it would be. Yes.
Okay, well, we should probably wrap this up. So is there any parting words you'd want to bestow on everyone? First of all, everybody, please go and forget wee jobby and Craig, but it's like, follow Susan. She does wonderful things each week to help us with our grammar and learn about her services. Go to her profile. She has awesome. She doesn't just do book editing. She does annual reports, blog posts. She does LinkedIn profiles. So think about this, people. If you have a LinkedIn profile that needs some editing, hello, you have someone who will get it right for you. Because, what does that say if you're using bad grammar in your LinkedIn profile or using the wrong words or whatever? So anyways, Susan is a LinkedIn trainer. That's why we did a LinkedIn leader on her, and she can help you with that. So please follow Susan. So sorry, I meant to ask you, Susan, is there any parting words of wisdom the grammar goddess would like to bestow on us mere mortals?
You've got to be kidding. No, reality. This is what I know how to do. I'm honored and very happy to help others because I learn every time I read someone else's work. Everybody is skilled. Everybody's smart. We're just differently smart. Last thing I would say is, let's never ask how smart is she, because that's not the right answer question. The question really should be, in my mind, how is she smart? We are all smart, but not in the same way. And that means the village works together, as we do.
Love it. Love
You
it.
do videos, I do the whatever the heck I do, the words and stuff, and we all get into it and give our gifts. So that's it.
I love it. I love it. And I love that your
Awesome.
mission is you're trying to help people look as smart as they really are. So that's a great goal. Okay, well, super. Thank you for coming on today, Susan.
Thank
We
you,
really
Brad.
appreciate it. Okay, so we'll stop there. Bye, everybody.
Bye.